The ATF wants you to know that it's gone to rehab, it's getting clean, and it's turning over a new leaf. Gone are the days of stealing your rights, shutting down your business over paperwork, or banging on your door in the middle of the night for a little tyranny fix. They've changed, guys. They have released their 12 steps and everything, and they really, really want you to believe them that they are totally, absolutely, 100% not going to relapse the minute a Democrat takes the helm. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and apologies to any 12-steppers who might be watching this video. I just thought it was the most appropriate comparison. The ATF has been on a hard PR campaign over the last few days to change up its image, and I've seen several articles about it with varying levels of skepticism, and y'all are gonna have to forgive me for being unconvinced here. The problem with disbanding the ATF is that it doesn't get rid of the gun laws on the books, and the problem with reforming the ATF is that the tyranny and corruption is already baked in. Nevertheless, they've released steps of Second Amendment progress and published a statement that the Alphabet Boys are ushering in a new chapter marked by transparency, accountability, and partnership with the firearms industry. This is not the same ATF of the last 4 years. We are fundamentally changing course with a renewed focus on rebuilding trust with federal firearms licensees, gun owners, and the public by prioritizing public safety and collaboration. They even have an article now on their website talking about protecting the Second Amendment. Says a law enforcement agency dedicated towards reining in the Second Amendment. Now, I'm going to read you the rest of their press release, but before I do, this video is brought to you by Blackout Coffee Company. Blackout is a Florida-based coffee roaster that has strong roots in supporting the Second Amendment and traditional values. They support channels like mine and have dedicated partner roasts that raise money for GOA, FPC, and even the Second Amendment Foundation. So, to get a cup of coffee, tea, or hot chocolate that you can be proud of, maybe even check out their new instant coffee, which is delicious, by the way, and help the channel, go to blackoutcoffee.com/LibertyDoll, and as a bonus, you can use code LibertyDoll for a one-time 20% discount. So here, ladies and gentlemen, is the rest of what they have to say. Under new leadership, ATF has already taken significant steps, including ending the enhanced regulatory enforcement policy that had targeted firearms dealers, publishing a new administrative action policy that emphasizes firearm traceability and public safety and de-emphasizes immaterial paperwork errors, encouraging any federal firearms licensees that had their licenses revoked or surrendered under the enhanced regulatory enforcement policy to reapply. Those applications will be judged under the new administrative action policy. Oh, encouragement. How nice. Removing revoked FFL inspection reports from ATF's public website, instituting a NICS alert policy that restricts use of NICS alerts to federal firearms trafficking violations, establishing a senior industry partnership advisor/liaison within the Office of the Director to address industry concerns and foster productive engagement, establishing a classifications board and requiring all new firearm classifications to be reviewed and approved by the Office of the Director prior to publication, ensuring that all rules fairly implement congressional statutes rather than create entirely new laws by administrative order, improving response time from the Firearms and Ammunition Technology Division to FFL inquiries, reversing a ban on the importation of non-lethal training ammunition. Additional efforts currently in progress include publishing an updated commerce report, updating ATF Form 20, authorization to transport firearms, into a simplified notice-based system, updating and simplifying ATF Form 4473 to make it more concise and user-friendly for both purchasers and FFLs, publishing an open letter on changes to the Brady chart, ensuring uniformity in dealer inspections and enforcement across regions, publishing an open letter reversing a ban on the importation of dual-use barrels, publishing a ruling to allow electronic signatures on NFA forms, reviewing all current regulations to identify and eliminate outdated or unnecessary rules. This isn't the same organization that did Waco or Ruby Ridge, guys. Or so they want you to believe. It's not the same agency that murdered Brian Malinowski or spent years taking advantage of informants with developmental disabilities and brain damage, which, oh boy, I just uncovered while writing this video, and you can bet that story is coming up on my docket, friends. The fact of the matter is, at this point, trust in the ATF is so low that even left-leaning think tanks are calling for it to be nixed over an ever-changing, unclear mission, if you can believe that. Of course, their concern is more about the agency being hemmed up by gun control laws and not being able to put the full weight of terrifying paramilitary raids on all us gun-owning citizens and their use of mentally disabled CIs above anything else. But still, at least we are all agreeing that it needs to go. To me, this all screams political damage control. If y'all remember the parable of the scorpion and the frog, the ATF and the government at large is a scorpion here. You can say, well, this is a bit of progress, and if they do the things on this list and do them accurately and fairly, absolutely, it is better than the ATF under Biden, but my friends, a scorpion is still a scorpion. Folks like Kash Patel came in and made promises and are still sitting in front of the camera now claiming that Epstein hung himself, with him and Bongino looking like they should be blinking twice to call for help. And I am glad that I am not the only one that looked at that and thought that it was a hostage film. To their credit, the agency just did release a new national compliance policy for FFL's inspections last week that replaces the 2021 zero tolerance policy. Acting Director Driscoll said that the policy aims to allow investigators the discretion to tell the difference between an honest mistake versus a threat to public safety, and aims to define the words willful and knowing, which seems like it should have been done in the first place, and promises no automatic license revocations. So credit where credit is due on that one. As for everything else, ensuring that all rules fairly implement congressional statutes rather than create entirely new laws by administrative order is perhaps the most promising, in that on the surface it seems to say there won't be any more ATF final rules that essentially govern via executive fiat. But while the government says these policies have ended, the Biden administration's extra crap is still on the books. Now, folks like Tennessee Rep. Mark Green have sent letters to Pam Bondi asking the DOJ to review revoked FFLs under Biden's rules and reinstate those that didn't engage in willful efforts to deceive the ATF. And we've heard that some of those FFLs will be able to apply to open back up now that they have been soul-crushed and possibly financially ruined by having their livelihoods taken away, and in cases like the kitchen table FFL in Oklahoma, possibly have years of therapy after exposing their kids to trauma after being raided and handcuffed by the ATF. All of this is well and good, but what about the frame and receiver rule, which was used, for example, to charge Tate Adamiak before it actually went into effect? What about stabilizing braces? What about Dexter Taylor sitting in a max security prison in New York for exercising his natural-born rights? Sure, it was New York State that ultimately got him, but they only got him because the ATF butted in and demanded customer data from companies like Polymer 80 and is spying on everybody, and then handed that information over to New York State. No ATF, and he never would have been caught. Now, I will recognize this list and, this little 12-step program they're doing as progress, but it's as good as a man saying that he's no longer going to beat his wife until I see some action of some of this stuff being struck from the Federal Register and some major overhaul on the ATF's aggressive tactics. Whew! Getting spicy today, guys. That is it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're new here, drop a comment down below and ring that notification bell. And if you ever wondered my true thoughts on the government and the ATF, well, now, friends, you know. So you know what? Like and share this video if you agree. How about that? And as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there and happy shooting. And let's just hope that I never get black bagged for one of these videos.